Today's guest is a watercolor illustrator and animation artist. She does all those cool GIFs that you see all over Instagram and a variety of feeds. So please join me in welcoming Volta Voloshin-Smith to the show. Volta.
Hi, Fanny. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, look at even your background is beautiful, and it just makes me happy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I first met you through Lila.
Yes,
At one of
Smith.
at one of Lila Smith's workshop. I saw Gabriel in the comments. So Gabriel, you'll have to help me tag Lila into this feed. But Lila introduced us, and I still remember you had a picture of an avocado watercolor.
Yes.
And I loved it. It was everything you create has such joy and happiness about it. And it's very obvious even from the background on your wall. And I've been following you on Instagram, and I just love your work. And as you can see, everyone, this watercolor background, Volta created that for me. I hired her to do that. And it's just, every time I see it, it just makes me happy. And I want to hear more from you. I'm going to just share real quick right beside us your Instagram feed here. But tell me a little bit about yourself, and tell the audience how you got into creating watercolors and animations and GIFs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fanny, thank you so much for all your kind words. I so appreciate it. Let's see how I got started. So I wasn't always pursuing art. In fact, I didn't go to art school. I'm self-taught. I kind of followed a more traditional route of going to business school and pursuing, an MBA and all those more like secure kind of path. And I don't regret that at all, because it definitely prepared me a lot as far as, dealing with entrepreneurship and all those things. But eventually I just couldn't ignore the call in my heart, where I knew that I had to come back to art, because it was still a part of me. I had to pursue it.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, like this call in you, right? Because I find that even with content creation, there's this call to say something and call to express yourself. How does that manifest for you, this calling?
Yeah, I don't know. I love to express myself through watercolor. So I found that medium to be so soothing in a way that it just calms you down, and it makes you feel so happy and joyous to play with colors. So I think, when as far as like talking about the call, it came down to me, for me, as far as starting back on my artist journey, is I really enjoyed playing with colors, and I wanted to take away all the pressure of like, oh, you have to make perfect art, you have to do this or that, or you have to even pursue art as an education, have a diploma or a piece of paper that says now I'm an artist. Like I didn't want to do any of that, because at the heart of it all, it just was a way for me to express myself. And watercolors lends itself so well, in my opinion. I'm a little biased, but it is just such a nice and approachable medium where you can just open up a palette and start painting. You don't even have to prepare, like have an apron. There's no mess involved. Like you don't have to unscrew bottles. You just open up a palette and start painting. And I think it is like, just by removing these extra things that we think that we have to have in order.
Need for perfection.
Yes,
right?
Need for perfection, or even the idea like, well, I have to have the right tools. Well, if you let yourself experiment with different things, you can make art even with like a pencil or a ballpoint pen. Like it just is a matter of having that urge to just kind of release it and find a way to express it in a way that speaks to you. And I highly recommend, testing and experimenting with different media because we're all different. Some of us maybe love to write, some of us love to garden. There's so many different ways to be creative.
Absolutely. Volta, I'm sorry. I hear a little clicking, and I think it's the mic on your headphones hitting the necklace. So if you don't mind, just maybe just tuck your necklace into your shirt.
Yes, sorry about that.
This is live, folks. It definitely. See, Gabriel. Love it. Hey, Gabriel. Love Volta's watercolor meditation. Yes, absolutely. And your background, Chuck says, we all need joy and happiness. Absolutely. Especially during these challenging times right now with the pandemic. Absolutely. Joy is contentment with life, no matter what our circumstances, and allows anyone who connects with joy to experience life in vibrant ways. Well said, Chuck.
I love that.
Yes, indeed.
That's brilliant.
Yes, indeed. So, this whole series that I'm starting is creativity in business. So what is your definition of creativity, Volta?
To me, creativity is anything that allows us to express ourselves. So self-expression, experimentation. I really believe in just treating whatever we're doing as an experiment because there's just too much pressure, to say, oh, it has to be perfect. Yeah. No, let's let go of that and experiment and see, well, if I try this approach, what if, let's see what happens. Yeah. And I really believe that creativity is also a muscle that we have to exercise. So the more we do it, the more creative we become.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Creativity is a muscle. I love that thought. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I like to hear when people say, oh, I'm not creative, because it just gives me an opportunity to reassure them that they are. I truly believe that everyone can be creative. Again, it's just a matter of maybe unblocking ourselves or trying, a totally different approach to how we even walk to work, for example, or how we maybe rearrange our furniture. That can be an act of creativity in itself, and it can like jolt us a little bit and like give us that sense of life. Because it's different. So I'm such a huge believer in creativity, and I think we as humans just have this innate urge to create, and it's different for all of us. And I think the beautiful part of life is just kind of uncovering what is that way that I get to be creative.
Oh, so true. It's like last week I had Ben Fluno on my creativity series.
I love Ben, yeah.
Right? Ben uses acrylics, big, huge canvases, and just like you, like actually I see a little commonality in that he's like, he doesn't really think too much before he just puts the paint on the wall. He just does it and then just lets it take over and go from there. And it ties in with what you were saying. And similarly, Jennifer was saying this idea of letting go of perfectionism and just tapping into creativity.
Yes.
And you express it through watercolor. He expressed it through acrylic. My guest next week does it through infographics.
I love it.
I love it. Yes. Yes, indeed. And then Jason was saying different is good. Yes, Jason Hopper. Indeed.
I think there is a benefit to a routine. I think it can help us be more efficient in some ways, but at the same time, there's nothing better than to do something spontaneous that can really just like bring that sense of life back, just that joy of trying something new, that new experience. And And I wanted to mention this book, actually, speaking of creativity.
Yeah, real quick, actually, Gabriel, I love this quote. You can't use up creativity. The more you
Yes.
use, the more you
Oh,
have.
that's so
Oh,
beautiful. I love
yes,
it.
yes. Okay, tell us about the book.
So this book is called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and it's probably my all-time favorite books. It is just so brilliant at helping anyone who feels stuck or uncreative, just to kind of rediscover that inner sense of being, like who you are at the core. And I love The Artist's Way, and it's not just for artists. So even if you say, oh, I can't draw, you don't have to know how to draw to enjoy this book. It really is just a tool to read the book and go through different prompts and kind of helps you discover your inner desires, things that you may have forgotten as you have grown up since you were a kid, like all these societal pressures and whatnot. And I think what this book does really well is it helps us get back to that inner child and honoring them, and letting ourselves play a little bit, like treat work as play. It doesn't all have to be so serious. There's opportunities where we can like really just infuse a little bit of levity and joy in it.
So true. I'll tell, yeah, because that reminds me, like way back in high school, I thought I wanted to be an architect, but then I found out that to be an architect, I had to put together, or to get into college, I had to put together a whole portfolio of things to demonstrate I'm creative, and that filled me with fear. So I didn't do that. I ended up going into engineering, and because I was like, oh, well, I know math and science. And so the fear of not being creative enough stopped me from pursuing a career in architecture. And I ended up being more right-bearing and like, and engineering and math. But yeah, it's true. Like I guess growing up, we were not always encouraged to pursue the creative path. But now, like we so crave it, don't you think?
Yeah. I think it can manifest in so many different ways. So for me, I actually picked up this book when I was going to school full time and working full time. So I just was craving something creative because I was so much in the maths and the strategy of business and all of that, that I just remember just doing some prompts that kind of helped me. One of the suggestions was like, buy a set of watercolors. And I just, on a whim, I picked up a set of watercolors from a very random store. It was like TJ Maxx or something, where you don't even go there to buy. You shop for art supplies, right? And honestly, like picking up that set is what started me getting back into my journey as an artist, where I rediscovered that passion that I had. And eventually over the years, I decided to pursue this full time.
And just like Patricia says in the comments, creativity is contagious.
Absolutely.
So if you hadn't picked up that box of watercolors, then you and I would not be talking right now.
Probably not, honestly.
I wouldn't have this background right now.
No.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, Gabrielle has read the book as well. Such a great book. Debbie. Hey, Debbie. Shout out to Debbie. Debbie helps me a lot as well with my content and my videos. Love The Artist's Way. There's a workbook that goes with it too.
That's right.
Very cool.
It's Gabrielle, a fantastic resource. Highly recommended.
Gabrielle says The War of Art is also another book I love about creativity. Oh my gosh. See, it's contagious. It is contagious, Patricia. It's all over. Yes, indeed. So let's talk about how you've applied your art, because you've done it in all these creative ways, right? Like each time I see an Instagram post of yours, I'm like, Oh my gosh, how did she even think about that? But it's such a cool application of art because I have this traditional thinking of art is just a painting, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Or just something on a piece of paper or canvas. But I'm going to bring up your Instagram page here so you
Yes.
can walk us through some of the different ways that you have used art.
Yes, so one of my favorite things, every now and then I'll make a post about incorporating a breathing exercise along with a watercolor animation. So for example, if you click on the strawberry
Yeah.
in the feed, maybe we could all take a moment
Oh,
to,
yes.
to center ourselves and take a few deep breaths to kind of just relax.
Okay. Okay, audience, let's do this. Okay, let's have a moment of meditation and breathing.
Yes.
Let's go.
All right, so you'll just follow the strawberry, inhale as it expands, and you'll hold for 4 seconds, and then you exhale as it contracts. So let's do it.
Wow.
All right, so we did it for about 6 times, and that's kind of the recommended amount of times to take a deep breath in and out
Wow.
to really kind of, settle into our bodies a little bit and just calm
I feel
ourselves.
calmer already.
Yay!
Give me a clap in the comments if you felt calm after that breathing exercise. Let's see those claps pop up on the feed.
So that is one way that I love to apply it because I have been I'm not like a meditation teacher or guru or anything like that. I just have been using this practice to help me with my anxiety and my stress levels, and over the years, and I love that I could find a way to maybe help someone if they're scrolling through their feed and they find this exercise. Maybe they can take a moment to take a deep breath in and out and feel a little bit calmer as a result of it.
Absolutely. Especially now, the more and more during this pandemic, I hear of the mental health challenges and just the total importance of meditation and gratitude, right? And even just
Absolutely.
that quick moment of meditation, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
very calming.
speaking of the current times, that is actually one of the reasons why I created my latest class, the Watercolor Meditations that you see on the feed there as well.
Yes.
It was a response to just the current times because I found that incorporating art with breathing exercises was helping calm me down, and I wanted to share that with others because I just thought that was such a powerful way to get out of our heads and onto the paper.
Yeah. Okay, I'll play this. And let me know if you can hear the sound.
Hi, sweet friends. I'm so excited to introduce to you my newest online class, Watercolor Meditations. This class is great for anyone who wants to explore watercolors as a way to bring some relaxation and calm into their busy lives. We'll start by going over some basic watercolor supplies and then going over some basic watercolor techniques, and then proceed into our exercises or watercolor meditations that will combine breathing, mindfulness, and colors for a fun and calm experience. There are over 20 different watercolor meditations for you to enjoy, and they don't require a huge time commitment, so you can just use whatever time you have available during your day. This class is super beginner friendly, but even if you have some prior watercolor or art experience, you will find some of these watercolor meditations very soothing and grounding. I hope you'll join me in the class, and I'll see you there.
Wow. Very cool, Volta. Oh my
Thank you so
goodness.
much.
Oh my goodness. What do you think, folks? Does watching that video make you calm just watching it? I love how like just even just watching the brush stroke
Mhm.
and even just that drop of color in the water
I truly believe
is soothing.
art can heal. You know, you just if you let yourself experience it for what it is without trying to be perfect. And that's one of the reasons why I created this class where it's not like we're not painting an object or
Yeah.
a thing, but it's more so about the brush strokes and how you can just experience the colorfulness of watercolors along with some deep breathing
Love
exercises.
it. Oh, beautiful. What else have you used your art for?
Let's see. Oh, that cocktail
Okay.
animation. If you click on that, so that is a cocktail that I painted during a. So I have a weekly live show on Instagram. It's called Watercolor Happy Hour.
I
And
love it.
it started during the pandemic because what else are we to do, during
Yeah.
lockdown?
Yeah, just a little drink. Let's take
And
the edge off.
yeah, and I host it with my husband. He shows you how to create this cocktail, and then I'll show you how to paint it. And so, what you see here is just one of the recipes of the cocktails that we did one of the weeks. But it's just been such a fun time to connect with my audience and our friends, and just kind of spend a little bit of time each week making a new cocktail and then
Yeah.
painting it together.
See, like, doesn't that, I mean, that makes me happy just seeing that because and again, it's those bright, happy colors you use, I think, that just
Yeah.
like brings joy. And then now I want a cocktail. Yes. Oh,
Thank
I
you.
saw a remark from Mark. Mark, so true. President Bush, after his stint as a president, he took up painting.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Yes, I have to share this cool little story because so my neighbor across the street is a veteran and Purple Heart veteran, and so we're in DFW. President Bush is in DFW, and so he did a series where he painted all these veterans, and so he painted my neighbor.
Wow.
So inside my neighbor's house is a painting of him, painted by President Bush.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
so talk about a retirement project,
Mm-hmm. That's
right?
fantastic.
And
I
it's
love
full of
that.
bright colors too, as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for bringing that up, Mark. Absolutely. So let's go back to that. Give me a second here to turn that off. Okay, tell us what else you've done with your art. So you started with, you've used it for meditation,
Mm-hmm.
for breathing exercises, for cocktail happy
Cocktail,
hours,
yes. Cocktail
live
happy hour.
shows.
And another way that I do application of art is through brand activations. So if you scroll down just a little bit, oh yes, the avocado right there. So I created this as part of, I guess for those who are not familiar, how art plays as far as like a brand activation. Someone opens up a new store and they want people to come in and enjoy it. the way I would participate in that is I would come in, either teach people how to paint something, so have an activity of like watercolors, or I could do live painting where depending on whatever the product is, it would just kind of give that extra special, memorable thing that people could take away along with them.
Yeah.
And so, sorry.
No, it's just so cool. Like, and that's why I love your work. It's a piece of art. You painted it, but then at the same time, you're giving some information, right? So the benefits of avocados.
Yes.
And then you animate it, and then it becomes a video plus your art plus educational tips. It's all in one, which I love.
Yeah, so I know we'll probably be talking about this a little bit later about content creation, but this is just one way that I love to repurpose content.
Yes.
So this avocado absolutely started as, a piece of art that I actually have on my wall right here behind me.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me zoom in. Point to it again.
Right here.
Oh, there's her avocado.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I'm constantly on a mission to make GIFs relevant in a way where, how can it be used? So one example we saw, was meditation, taking a deep breath. This is kind of more of an infographic type of feel where it shows you the benefits. And then a lot of other ones that I do too is showing.
Actually, quick, Volta, because I saw Chuck says he wants to see the bird on the sushi roll.
Oh, yes.
Where was it?
Yes.
Did I pass?
If you scroll up just a little bit.
There's
there.
There.
Yeah.
Okay, Chuck, this one's for you. Oh.
So wait for it.
That's great.
Just a little bit of humor to make someone's day a little bit.
Yes. Oh, and then I love you even animated the eyes. Oh, good one. I'm glad you caught that, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. That is one of my favorite animations, I think, just because I had complete fun. I was like, I don't want to be serious. I know this is food and a bird is on it. It's already not realistic.
No, but it's eye-catching, right? And then you just brought a smile to someone's face. Jason Hopper says, I want an avocado now. Yes, right?
Yes. They're very good for you. Lots of health benefits.
Yeah. Dee says, as the person who can barely draw a stick figure or basic animal, this is absolutely blowing me away right now. Super cool.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. Chuck, it's because he loves sushi. So
I love sushi too.
Oh, okay. Let's go on. So we've had breathing, meditation,
the cocktails.
Yeah.
And the recipes. So another way that I love to apply watercolors and animation is to show a recipe, like recipe steps, like how would you prepare it basically. So that's one example of how the different ingredients of assembling a salad.
Wow. So do you paint in layers then?
I do, yeah. A lot of my illustration work that, isn't art to even put up on a wall is just like little random bits of lettuce leaves, chickpeas, olive slices. It really just depends on the recipe, but I do have to illustrate in layers and then assemble that in After Effects.
Oh, yeah. And see, I can totally see like restaurants, and I think you have some restaurants that are your clients, right?
Yes, yeah.
That hire you to just kind of assemble maybe different dishes that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my clients, she has a weekly kind of recipe that she shares with her audience. And my job is to bring that recipe to life with, illustrations and then animations. So it's probably one of my favorite art applications. And Honestly, Fanny, I always get hungry when I work on those,
Yeah.
so I have to make sure I eat at lunch.
Well, now I
Because
want a Caesar salad. So. Oh, is Velvet Taco one of your clients?
yes, yes. So I did a series of gifts for them.
Oh my, Velvet Tacos is probably my favorite tacos in all of DFW.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know who else loves Velvet Taco. Say Velvet Taco in the comments because they just have the most creative tacos.
And they're
And I
so
recognize the one on
beautiful.
the left. It's their fish and chips,
Yes,
right? With the
yes,
mustard.
yeah.
It's one of my
Honestly,
favorites.
I fell in love with their tacos a few years ago. I even I was going to Toastmasters at the time. I even wrote a whole speech about going to a Velvet Taco and enjoying a taco there. Like I am, whenever, like you can imagine, I was fangirling a little bit when they were like, "Hey, do you want to do some gifts for us?" And I was just like, "It would be an honor."
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just, I mean, it blew my mind. Like I still remember when I saw some of this stuff, just how you've basically combined traditional art, which is just not just, but a watercolor painting,
Yeah.
and then you combine it with the digital side of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
animated it, you made it into a GIF. How did you put those two together?
Yes, so I'll be honest, it was about 3 years ago when I started my entrepreneurial journey, and at the time, I didn't know exactly the direction of my art was going to take, but I started noticing because I was spending a lot of time on Instagram, a lot of
Yeah.
time, I was noticing that
Yeah.
videos were becoming a lot more popular. So,
Yeah.
and that was the content that people preferred to watch anyway. And so that's when I started to think, well, how can I make everything that I post be a video? And I've seen a lot of other watercolor artists, and I was thinking, well, how can I make my art be a little bit different? Like, how can I just make it a little bit more fun and in that way where it's like moving around?
Yeah.
And so with eventually lots of trial and error and figuring different programs and digitizing the artwork, I kind of found my way into a process where I just started making these animations, and it's been so fun.
Yeah. And see, we have a lot of Velvet Taco lovers.
Yes,
Jason Hopper,
I love
Chandra,
it.
Chuck, Gabriel, Yolanda. Hey, Yolanda. She says, Volta, your art is
Oh,
so innovative.
thank you
Love
so
it.
much,
Right?
Yolanda.
Oh, G, you have to go. You have to get a Velvet Taco. Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Please.
there you go. Everyone's talking about it. You have to get one
You
now.
have to.
Oh, I love it. Now, a lot of times we think of art as we have the stereotypical image of the starving artist and toiling away and waiting for somebody to buy their art. And but you've come up with like a lot of different ways to monetize your art, right?
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
I've had to get creative because well, first of all, I'm very grateful for the internet, because I think and nowadays it's a lot easier to be a successful artist in the way where you can actually pay your bills because there's so many opportunities and so many different applications. Like I've just shown a couple.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ways to monetize art, whereas before it was just you were dependent on galleries, on like the representation of
Right.
someone saying, oh, this is good art. So one way that I found success in was doing brand activations. And kind of like I mentioned before, a lot of
Let me
those
pull
were,
up your website here.
yeah, a lot of those were typically, I'd be brought in to do live painting on the spot. And then, so for example, I did a couple where it was an alcohol brand, and they were serving cocktails. And so as the people that were enjoying the cocktails, learning about this brand, I was painting the exact same cocktails that they were drinking. And so also on the back of that watercolor piece, they had printed stickers with the instructions of how to make this cocktail at home.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
so it wasn't just like, you get to go to this event, try a new brand, some cocktails, but you also get to walk away with a piece of art, something unique, and also maybe
Yeah.
it'll inspire you to make that
And a recipe.
cocktail.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, a recipe, exactly.
Using their bottle of alcohol, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it was just I hadn't heard of live painting prior to someone just asking me if I was doing that a few years ago, and I kind of, figured had to also again trial and error trying to figure things out. But I found that it was such a nice way to elevate an event, or not necessarily just elevate it, but like have that little moment of a memorable activity that kind of makes the
Yeah.
brand stand out from their typical events.
Well, it's multi-sensory, right?
Yes.
Like one thing, even from my training background, right? It's always about getting everyone's senses, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have the visual, which is the watercolor and everything around us in the brand education. And then you have they get to touch and feel it, right? And paint it
Yes.
and like, hold the glass in their hand. And then there is the like taste also,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're tasting something. So it's
Yeah.
like all these senses are all going at the same time, and then it becomes a experience, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, we have a question from Chuck. He asks, Volta, do you do this all on your own or do you have a team?
I am a one-woman show at the moment. Yes.
Love it. Yes. Love it. Love it. Awesome. And then tell us more. What were the other
Oh,
applications or
yes.
how you've monetized your art?
So the other component of what I do is offering workshops. So I've done quite a few. I either partner up with a business, or like a corporate client brings me on to do like a self-care type of activity for their team.
Mm.
So just basically taking the idea of watercolors and making it super accessible for someone to just have a little bit of like a moment of creativity, just kind of reset.
Wow. Yeah. Jennifer Beats, you're in the audience. I know you're a big advocate. She's a big advocate of meditation and mindfulness
Yes.
as well. I think you'll love this, Jennifer. And
Yeah.
me too.
So that is the Watercolor Meditations is one of the recent workshops that I've been offering for
Mhm.
various clients. And again, it
You're
just,
featured in Dallas Observer.
yeah, and
Wow.
people just seem to resonate. Whereas, we're spending so much time on our screens right now,
Oh my God.
that I think having something like this for a group of people, or even just individually, like you can
Yeah,
still have a little bit of that, tactile experience with where you get to play with
absolutely.
colors. There's no pressure. It's just fun all around.
It is. And like staring at all this, okay, G, you don't have to see, even us that paint, like that draw stick figures, we can do this. We can
Absolutely.
do
Yes.
this.
Yes. Anyone can do this.
Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then how else have you monetized your art?
Let's see. I guess the last part would be
These gifts, right?
the gifts. Yes, yes. My animations. So I create gifts for, if you're familiar with Instagram stories, where you can add little stickers onto your stories. So I've created like these for Velvet Taco. I had so much
By the
fun.
way, Volta, you'll have to tell people what's on LinkedIn.
Stories. I cannot believe it. I opened up the LinkedIn app and we have now
Right?
stories on there.
Right? Did anyone else notice LinkedIn stories has popped up? Because I know Trevor Houston, I don't know if he's still in the comments, but he said he noticed it. And I don't see it yet on my feed, but you saw it, right, Volta?
Yes, yeah. It was on my app. Yeah, I was just so surprised, and I'm so excited to test it out.
Yes, yes. But yeah, keep on going. So let
Oh,
me share back here.
yeah. So I mentioned the stickers, which actually I also speaking of LinkedIn, if you are direct messaging someone, and you search for color snack in the GIF box, because you can send GIFs via direct messaging. You'll see a series of my stickers pop out, and
Wow.
you could use them in your in your messaging.
How'd you get featured in GIFs?
So it's a different platform. There's a couple of platforms that host these GIFs. And I created an account and got approved to have to host my own GIFs on there. And so, for example, LinkedIn, I believe it's Tenor. Tenor is the one that grabs. That's where you host your GIFs, and it grabs them from there. And then for Instagram, it's Giphy. And
Wow.
Giphy is like the second largest search platform. I mean, it's like a whole ecosystem of things and keywords and content and all that.
So there you go, folks. You can make a whole career out of GIFs as well.
Absolutely, yes. And I'm on a mission to, like, speaking of content, there's so many ways that we can repurpose a GIF. That's another one of my missions, is to kind of find different applications of using one GIF in multiple different ways. So you can put it on your newsletter, you can put it on your website, you can put it on your email signature, and impress someone that way. There's just so many different ways to really reuse that content.
Absolutely. I got that gift from you for the watercolors, so I'm in the midst of updating my website. So I'll have Volta's watercolor gifts on my website as it kind of transitions from all these different yellow and orange colors, which are my brand colors. So Volta,
I had so much fun painting those.
I love it. So do you ever get stuck, Volta? Like, do you ever get there's writer's block, so I assume there's artist's block.
Oh yeah, all the time.
How do you get unstuck when you're creating?
One thing that's been really helpful for me is journaling. So just kind of briefly mention this book again, The Artist's Way. One of the core kind of concepts of this book is to do morning pages, and that's basically the practice of, you wake up and the very first thing that you do in the morning is you just write for 3 pages. And it doesn't matter, like, you just release your thoughts, so they're not in your head but on the paper. And I found that doing that practice regularly really helps me get unstuck, because I'll wake up, whatever thoughts and anxieties I may have, I just get to write them out. And then therefore it helps me release them, so I'm not thinking about those worries anymore.
It's almost like you get to kind of dump out the negative.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. I call it
a
brain dump, because it's really like, those pages aren't meant to be perfect. You're not writing a novel or anything. You're literally just releasing all the negativity or anything that could be in your head. And one of the things that I like that Juliet Cameron mentions in the book is like, well, what if I have nothing to write about? And I was totally there. I've been there. And when I get to that point, I literally write, I have nothing to write about. And I will write that phrase over and over again until something comes into my head where I can write about something.
Wow.
But I just
like
think
that trick. Yes.
It's such a powerful way to, because we activate a different part of our brains whenever we write something by hand versus typing. So you have to use your hand, because it just activates a different part of you. And
it's movement too, right?
It's tactile, and that kind of helps too with the whole experience. And it really, I highly recommend this practice, because again, when I started it at first, I didn't know what to write about.
Yeah.
And it could be super mundane things like, I need to go to the grocery store. Okay, write that. But as soon as you write it, it just feels so much better.
Yes. Yeah. Jason's like, that's a great tactic. Absolutely. G has a question.
Yeah.
She said, do we need to be on Instagram to get the GIFs? I don't have an account.
Let's see.
But you said
have-
even in our messaging, we can find GIFs,
Yes,
right?
so if you're on LinkedIn messaging, there is a little GIF box in there. If you search for, I mean, you can search any keyword, of course, but the ones that will come up that I created are under keyword color snack. That's the name of my business. But let's see, if you're on Facebook, you can also add GIFs to comments and even make a post with GIFs as well. So let's see, I'm trying to think. But I do believe you have to have an account in order to create those stories and search for the GIFs.
Yeah,
on
I'm
Instagram.
just seeing. Okay, so yeah, yes, there is. If you look on LinkedIn messaging, it literally has a button, GIF.
Yeah.
And so if you press on that, you'll see that inside LinkedIn messages.
And now with stories, I wonder if we're going to get GIFs on there as well, which I'm very, very excited about.
Right? Oh my gosh, stories is going to change LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It really will.
Yeah.
For all those that thought LinkedIn is all buttoned up and corporate, it will liven it up for sure.
I love it. I'm so excited.
Yes. Awesome. So thanks for that tip. So you create, obviously, on your Instagram, like tons and tons of content. And I'm a huge advocate for content. I'm always trying to get my audience to create content. How has it changed your business? And how has posting on social media brought you, leads and monetization?
Honestly, Fanny, I would not have a business were it not for the content creation. I don't know else how I would meet people. I mean, you can go to events, network and, socialize in that way, but you just cannot reach the amount of people you can with social media. And so I actually have, my, serious career background is in digital marketing. So I always knew the importance of content because I worked with it. I saw what it could do for different businesses as I was working at different agencies. And so kind of carrying on that idea, whenever I started Color Snack, I knew that I had to, be active on a couple of platforms, creating different content.
Look at you. Dallas's most gifable artists. Love it. Yes.
Thank you. And then I think I mentioned it, may have mentioned it before, my favorite part about content is the idea of repurposing it in so many different ways. So like a piece of art can be, an animation, it can be a sticker.
Place cards. Look at this. You used it for place cards.
Yeah, so during one of my workshops, the in-person workshops.
Can I play this?
Yeah,
let's play
absolutely.
This. Can you hear the sound?
Yes, I can hear it.
Oh my gosh, I could watch this forever. I got caught up in it.
Thank you. But that's another example actually of application of art, because for all my in-person workshops, I love doing place cards with people's names. So it makes the experience a little bit more special because you get to see your name, and then of course it's accompanied by, whatever the theme is that we're painting. So in that instance, we were painting watercolor cocktails. I know it seems like I'm very much into cocktails because
That's okay. I am too.
but they're so beautiful, Fanny. They're
They
colorful, and I just
are.
want to
They
paint all of
are.
them.
And actually, it lends itself well because the watercolors, I mean, water's dripping down,
Yes,
so then the colors bleed. So
yes,
it's perfect
yes.
for watercolor paintings.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that because
Yeah.
I am that is one of the things that I really love about it because I'll see a photo of a cocktail and I'm like, oh, I need to paint that. Look at those colors. It's like a real watercolor already.
Wow. Now you have a podcast as well, right?
Yes, yes,
Like,
I do.
and I love the purpose of your podcast, right? Just mindset tips and advice for creative entrepreneurs and artists. So, what are some of these mindset tips?
Yeah, so my podcast is called Art, Snacks, and Affirmations. And I created it as a way to help other creative entrepreneurs and artists to build a resilient mindset. Only because from my experience with being an entrepreneur, I've just seen it. It is such a roller coaster of emotions that if we don't, prepare ourselves mentally in a way that, kind of helps us weather the storms, it's just not going to be a sustainable career path.
Yeah.
And so let's see, a couple of tips that I like to share on there. I have just a few episodes that I just started, but one of the ones that I really strongly I know it's a mindset tip, but it's actually the physical health. So I strongly believe that our bodies and our minds are connected, and so if we dedicate a little bit of time to working out, on a consistent basis, it can trickle down and just help us, get those endorphins and have that motivation to keep going. Because a lot of
Absolutely.
times we'll just get tired, we'll get burnt out, and then you can't run a business that way. It's really hard.
Yeah. I've had days like that for sure.
Absolutely. And another thing I think most common is paying attention to our thoughts. So I know it's impossible to always be positive because there are a lot of negative things happening in the world. But if there's a way, whatever negative thoughts we have about ourselves or our abilities, if we can challenge them, if we can reframe them, I think it just can help us build that kind of growth mindset where it's not necessarily about, this, we didn't stop here, like we can continue to evolve. And having, feeding our brain with positive messages will only make that easier. And personally, I like positivity because it feels good. It feels much better than staying negative.
Absolutely.
And it just helps us take positive action. So positive thoughts help us take that positive action, and then, in the end, we get to change our life in a positive way.
Yes, yes. See, you're impacting others as well. Nettie says, great conversation. Thank you both. Nettie
Thank
is
you,
from the
Nettie.
Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce.
Oh.
So thank you for joining us, Nettie. Chuck, great show. Thoroughly enjoy your guest, Volta, and her
Thank you so
content.
much.
Yes, for
Oh.
sure, for sure. G, stunning, gorgeous work. Many congrats, not only your success, but on doing something you love. You found something you love and you're doing it for a living. I mean, that's like the goal, right? That's the life purpose. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, G.
Yeah. And so as we kind of wrap up, I mean, the hour just flies by.
Yeah.
It always does. I wanted to kind of ask you, Volta, what I love to practice gratitude. And I think right now more than ever, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for the health of my loved ones. Honestly, I think there's nothing more important. Everything else will sort itself out, but health is something we can never take for granted. I'm so grateful and I treasure it with all my heart.
And then what would be a life lesson that you've learned along your career?
Yeah, let's see. I think it would be learn to rest and
Mm,
not quit. That
mm,
was something that just I couldn't comprehend a few years ago because I thought I had to work all the time. I had to, if I didn't see results right away, then something was wrong and I had to put in even more hours. But good things, they just take time.
yes,
But we must rest in order to see those things come to fruition. It's just
absolutely.
a part of life is, I think, scheduling rest in order so that we can keep going.
Oh, perfect lesson. Yes, indeed. So, for those of you out there, go have a cocktail or sushi or
Yes.
taco, have a rest. It's the end of the day. Thank you, Volta. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you out there, connect with her. You can find her on LinkedIn, but you just have to go to her Instagram
Oh,
at
thank you,
colors.
everyone. Thank you so much, Fanny. I so appreciate you having me on your show, and everyone's so sweet with their comments. Thank you, everyone, so
I have a great
much.
audience. I love them. They're amazing. And I just want to wrap up and share with all of you, don't ever, ever forget to shine your light and share your message and share your voice, express your creativity, express your truth. And I hope you'll do it through video. Keep shining and keep creating, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.